In this video, I'll show you how to back up your Postgres database on a schedule using GitHub Actions and store the snapshots in an AWS S3 bucket. You'll learn the best way to manage GitHub secrets, how to automatically clean up old backups so you don't get charged, and finally, I'll show you how to actually restore the database, though I hope you won't need it. I'll be using Neon as an example just because anyone can replicate this, but obviously it will work with any Postgres database. Alright, the first step is to make sure that we have a GitHub repository because we can't run a GitHub action without the repository. If you already have a repository with your code base, just use that. No need to create one just for action. But in our case, I'm going to create one and I'll call it Postgres S3 Backup Demo. The link will be in the description as always. And now that we have a repository, we can go to AWS dashboard and create an S3 bucket. If you don't have an AWS account, pause this video, create one, go back, you know the drill. And before creating the bucket itself, we need to make sure that we have a role. Click on I am here, or if you don't have this in recently visited, just type in I am here, first result, it's the one you need. First, we need to go to identity providers, click on add provider. Make sure it's OpenID connect here, select that. And for these two values, I'm going to provide a gist that you can use. It will have those values. The link will be in the description. So for the gist, you want to use this one for provider URL and this one for audience. And this third one we're going to use later on when we'll create our bucket. So that's for our identity provider. No need for tags. Click on add provider. And right away, it says that we need to assign an IAM role, but we don't have one. Let's click on assign role, and it suggests here to create one. Let's click on create new role, click on next. On the create role page, make sure that web identity is selected. Select web identity. If you came to this page using some other way, make sure that web identity is selected. Identity provider, make sure the one that we just created is selected. Audience, same thing. The one that we just created. And for the GitHub stuff, if you don't have an organization, for example, in our case, I don't have an organization. It's just my username and repository. In that case, just type in your username as the organization. And the GitHub repository is just your GitHub repository name. And for the branch, most likely you are on the main branch or whatever branch you currently have. I'll type in main. That's it for the web identity values. We can now click on next. Skip the permissions. No need to add any permissions unless you do want to add them. Click on next. And now we need to fill role name and description. So let's call it something descriptive. We'll call it Postgres S3 Backup GitHub Action. Yeah, something like that. And I'll give it a description, a role for backing up Postgres DB using GitHub Action. Keep this trust policy as default. No need to add permission, no need to add tags. Click on create role. Now that we have the role, we can go open S3 page. Once again, you can just search here S3, first result, click on that. And if you have this page, click on create bucket. Otherwise, figure out how to find the create bucket button. Now for the bucket, the first thing we see is region, and this is very important, because you want to make sure that your region is exactly the same as your Postgres database region. So take a note of that. If you already have a Postgres database and it's on the different region, you can click on here. And for example, if it's on US West, click on US West and then create bucket. So you can see it changed the region for us. And now if we create a bucket, it will be on this region. So just make sure that your region matches on your database and this bucket for maximum performance and minimum latency. For the bucket name, we're going to give it a name PG S3 Backup. That's fine. And everything else keep the same unless you want to change it and you know what you're doing. Click on create bucket. We're almost there. Now we need to open the bucket. Click on permissions. Find the bucket policy, click on edit. And this way we're going to need our little snippet here, but be careful. Let me zoom in. I'll copy the snippet, paste it here. This is very important, so be careful here. We have, I created these placeholders, account ID, role name, and bucket name that repeats twice here. For the bucket name, that's the easiest. You can see this ARN, AWS S3, blah, blah, blah. Just copy it from here, bucket ARN, ARN, just paste it here. And here, be careful, paste like this. Make sure that you don't overwrite this part. So basically your bucket ARN and your bucket ARN plus slash and asterisk. So whatever is everything that is inside of your bucket. Actions remains the same, and you have here account ID and role name to replace. Account ID, just you have it at the top. Click on your name, copy the account ID, paste it here. But once again, be careful. Oh, it actually replaced the dashes. So you can see it was with dashes. Make sure it has no dashes. It does it automatically. So we are good. And for the role name, we want to type in the role name that we just created. If you don't remember it or just want to make sure, type in here I am, open on a new tab, click on roles, just copy it from here, come back, and you can paste it here. That's it. That's all the values that we had to replace. Let me zoom out and we can click Save Changes now. Now later on I'll show you how to test our GitHub action, but if something doesn't work, most likely you messed up something here. Some value is wrong here. So just double check this. Once again, you go to buckets, open your bucket, go to permissions, and make sure your bucket policy is good. At the end, I'll link to a written tutorial so that you can double check everything. Alright, we now have our S3 bucket. Let's now make sure that we have a database as well. Here I'm at the Neon dashboard. Once again, I'm not affiliated with Neon dashboard. I'm just using them because it's easy to replicate. Anyone can create an account for free and create a database to test this out. But if you already have a Postgres database, just use that. No need to create a Neon account, obviously. All right, we first need to create a project. And for the project name, I'm going to call it Postgres S3 Backup Demo. For Postgres version, obviously select which one you prefer. And for the region, once again, make sure that it matches. You can see here US West. Make sure it matches your region. Click on Create. Give it a second to initialize. All right, it's now initialized. Now we have a tables tab. If I click on that, you can see we have 0 tables, but let's see some data just so we have something to work with. I'll open the SQL editor and paste an SQL script that I prepared. It's a gist. The link will be in the description. Just copy this, come back here, paste, and click run. It will create 5 albums. If we go to tables, you can see we have now a table 2 albums with 5 albums. This is enough to test things out. All right, we're now ready to create our GitHub action. For that, I'm going to go to Actions, click on Setup Workflow Yourself. And once again, to save you guys some time, I'm just going to paste this gist, click on Raw here. The link will be in the description, by the way, and just paste it here. Let me zoom in a little bit. All right, let me break down this gist. So first thing we see is the project name. So you only need to change 3 things. The project name, for example, if your project is named something, you can replace this my project. I'm not gonna touch that, just keep it like this. And you have here PG version, maybe zoom in a little bit more. You have here retention days and PG version. Those 2 are constants. Make sure that obviously PG version matches your Postgres version. And retention days is for how many days the backup is going to be retained in the S3 bucket. Right now we have it set at 7. So backups older than 1 week will be deleted. And the rest of the env variables are coming from GitHub secrets. I'll show you how to set them. 2 ways actually of setting them. And then we have our cron scheduler. I left a link here. It will help you with the syntax. And yeah, this specific cron runs every day at midnight EST. Next, we have the steps, which is the core of this GitHub action. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's very simple. It shows you here the name and the command that it runs. There's no point in me, like echoing out what this command, like reading out these commands out loud. There's really nothing crazy. Installs Postgres, then most of this stuff is AWS specific, and then it just runs pgdump. Like nothing crazy here. I'm pretty sure that you can understand what's going on here. I do want to expand a little bit on this part where it says empty bucket of old files. That's the part that's gonna clean it up automatically, and you can see the retention days are used here. It's a long command, and what it does is just empties buckets each retention days. Other ways to handle this, although not this robust, would be to go to our bucket management, create lifecycle rule, and here you can say, for example, automatically delete each 7 days, right? Here you have to hard code this basically. And you can say apply to all objects, which will delete like everything in your bucket. So if you want to be a little bit more granular, you can use a prefix here, some kind of a prefix. And here you need to select expire current versions and just enter number of days, which is 7. Then just create rule. It's the same thing, but this way is much more robust. You just specify retention days, and there you have it. You just change the name. Make sure retention days is what you want to retain. For example, for my project, I usually go with 1 month, and PG version matches your Neon database PG version or wherever database you are using. That's it. Let's click on commit changes. I'll trust Copilot with the commit message. Click on commit. And there we have it. We now have a GitHub action. If I zoom out, go to actions. If I click on our action here, let me actually zoom back in so you can see better. If I click on run workflow and run workflow, it's going to fail. Why? Because in our action, we have these secrets set, but they are empty right now. So how do we set the secrets? There are 2 ways. There's a lame way, which is going to settings, then you open secrets and variables, actions, and then you have this repository secrets, which you can set here. Let's just set database URL, the value X, doesn't matter. And we now have this repository secret. This is exactly this part, right? Responsible for this part. Now this is going to work. This is going to have the value of X. I don't recommend this. Why? Because most of the time you're working with clients, at least I know I am, and the clients are owners of the repository. And I don't want to bother my clients by telling them, go to settings and go to actions, create repository. There's a better way using a tool from GitHub, which is called GH. So we just run GH CLI. I'll just Google it like this. And this is the site. For me, it shows Brew and Mac, but it has versions from Windows and Linux, if I'm not mistaken. And with this tool, you can do a lot of things, but specifically, it can manage secrets, which is what we want. So yeah, you can install it using Brew. I already have it installed. If I run gh-version, you can see that I have it installed. Before running this tool, we need to make sure that we cloned the repository because we're going to manage secrets specifically for this repository. So let me come here, copy the URL, and I'll run git clone, open the folder, and now I can run gh. We can do --help or -h for short, and you can see it can do a lot of things. We are specifically interested in managing GitHub secrets. So the cool thing about this tool is that you can do gh secret and run -h again, and it will show you help specifically for this command. So any command you see here, even for example, if we do gh secret, you can see we have delete list and set, right? We can do set -h, and it will show you help for this specific command, which is pretty cool. So anyway, we can run here gh secret list, and you can see we now don't have any secret. To set a secret, you run gh secret set and the variable name. So for example, database URL. You can securely paste your secret here or type it out. I'll set it to X again. And now if I run list again, you can see we have our secret. If we go back to dashboard, I remember the lame way, open the actions, you can see we have it set here. So it's working. Another cool thing about this tool is that you can set the secrets directly from env. So you can do gh secret set -f env. But before that, let's create an actual env file. And to fill this out, I'm gonna go back to actually I have it opened here. Copy this and format it into env version. All right, it's now formatted into env version, and the only thing we need to do here is to fill these guys out. So for the database URL, this is the easiest. We'll just open our Neon console, go to dashboard, and here we have the connect. I'll click on connect, and here we can copy the connection string from here, or you can see the dropdown. We can click on connection string and just copy this, or even if you click on Next.js env, like it's all the same. So just pick whichever you want. I copied the connection string and I'll paste it here. And for the AWS stuff, let's start with IAM role. I'll open AWS dashboard. Once again, I'll open IAM to find my role. Copy this guy, paste it here. AWS account ID, you already know this one. This is this one. We'll copy the value, paste it here. And we now need bucket name and region. Bucket name is PG S3 backup in our case, and the region is, it shows here US West 1, but let me find the way to copy it. Yeah, if we open properties, we'll have it here as well. So I'll just paste it here. And now we can run gh secrets set -f env, which will set all our secrets. Wow, great. And just to be sure, we can run gh secret list, which will give us all our secrets. Great. We can now test our workflow because we have the value set. We can now go to actions, click on our created action, press run workflow, and click on run workflow just to test it out. You can see workflow run was successfully requested. Let's see if it succeeds. And sure enough, it did succeed. And if we go to S3 bucket, open our bucket here, we'll see a folder here with our backup. How cool is that? Great. Now I obviously ran this one manually, but it will run automatically just like we defined it here. So whatever you set here, it will run on schedule. If it fails to run, you'll get an email to an email address which is connected to your GitHub account. So don't worry, you'll know if it fails. And now a bonus section with a few thoughts and remarks that I think you may find useful. First, how do we actually restore our database? How do we actually use that backup file in our bucket? First, let's download the latest one. I'll click on download, and notice that we have GZ at the end. That's because we compressed the file. So it's not just SQL, it's compressed version. This is a good practice because SQL files tend to be can be very large. So that's why in our workflow file, if we search for gzip, you can see that we actually compress it. It's very easy to uncompress. I just wanted to show you that it's there. All right, we now have our backup in the downloads folder. So let me move it from downloads to the current folder that we are in, and you can see we have the gz file. Let me uncompress it, and to do that, very simple, you just run g unzip. I keep calling it gunzip in my head, but it's g unzip, and yeah, just run that. It will get rid of the compressed file and give you uncompressed file. Let me actually call it something simpler like backup SQL. There we go. We now have the backup file to work with. And now let's open Neon console. You can see that we have still have the table with some rows. We want to get rid of these rows to test our backup. I'll run a simple command, drop table if exists. And now if we open tables, you see we don't have any tables. And now how do we import our backup file into Postgres? We go to overview and here find the connect. We need the connection string. We take the connection string and we run psql and in quotes here, paste the connection string. Then just point it to a file like so, -f, and point it to our backup file. If we run this, give it a second. By the way, don't worry about these two errors. They can be fixed with Grant. In our case, it doesn't hurt us. So if we go to tables, you can see that our rows are imported back in. And there you have it. This is how you import your backed up database. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to Neon Docs. To this article specifically, I will link it in the description. That's the article that got me started. It's a 2-part guide on setting up S3 bucket and setting up GitHub Action. So if I missed something or you didn't understand something, go check this docs out. The link will be in the description. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope it was helpful. Let me know in the comments what you want me to cover next, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!